Bitcoin's price is tanking hard, but the next 8 months of price action has finally been revealed. Let's talk about Bitcoin's price bottoming, what comes next, when the cycle high will be, how to trade it. Smash the like button. Altcoin Daily keeps you informed on crypto every single day, so make sure you subscribe. As global uncertainty tanks the market, inflation, tariffs, trade war, there's so much happening. Expert cycle trader Bob Loukas, we featured his work on the channel before. His videos are quite popular when we cover them. He just revealed, in his opinion, what the next 8 months looks like for Bitcoin. Because I'm seeing a lot of people insinuate that the top might be in. Hey, newsflash, the correction we're seeing now is normal. The bull trend has not been broken. The market is resetting, and in 1 to 2 months, we will see the most euphoric part of the bull cycle with a blow-off top bull phase after. Before we talk about the cycle top, we need to talk about what just happened in the market. Listen very closely. Amazing perspective.
On Bitcoin, the chart here still looks pretty good. I see no reason for concern when I flip to the monthly. So first of all, the major sort of trend here is respected. We're still in the rising portion. We saw an all-time high only last month. We're at the 10-month rising moving average. I haven't seen any major sort of euphoric moment, blow-off kind of like moment in this 4-year cycle. What came a little close was basically a year ago into the all-time high that was set March 2024. But it is my opinion that the fact that we didn't break down from that period, we had a solid 7-month consolidation below the prior all-time high, and then went off in another move that didn't extend itself all that far in the end, didn't show 5-6 straight months of excessive sentiment. To me, this looks like just yet another step up. So we've seen these levels throughout this bull market where we had the initial move off the 4-year cycle low. We built a nice level here over 4, maybe 5 months. Then we had another move up. We got a bit of consolidation right there. Then we had a secondary move up. This was the first half of the 4-year cycle, and now this is the second half of the 4-year cycle, which traditionally has been the more euphoric, the big bull phase of the 4-year cycle. I know it always looks pretty scary when you have a decline like this, but they happen and they come. And if anything, they just serve to reset sentiment on the way up and make the bull market more sustainable.
Hey, Altcoin Daily Nation. You need to sign up for the Bitcoin Reward credit card by our partner Fold. Reserve your spot today. Only so many waitlist spots are being accepted. This is US only. This is the most baller way to stack Bitcoin. You whip out this nice metal Fold credit card and you earn real Bitcoin. Use my link below and get on the waitlist immediately. So, what about the economy? What about inflation? What about tariffs? What about all the uncertainty in the world? Well, Bob Loukas is an expert cycle trader for a reason. Nothing new is happening in the market. Here he explains why he's not fazed by any boogeyman the mainstream media is propagating. He says Bitcoin's cycle in 2025 is looking more and more like Bitcoin's cycle in 2017 every day, including this dip. Listen.
Now, I do get quite a few posts or notes of concern from people about yield curve inversions and recession possibilities and tariffs and so on and so on. And all I can say to that is that I've been hearing that pretty much since this bull market began, and the market has continued to follow the cycle. It's not a guarantee that this cycle will look and feel exactly like the prior cycles have, where it peaks around that month 35, give or take a few months in either side, forms a fully right translated cycle, meaning that it peaked right, or at least maybe 2/3 or 3/4 of the way into the cycle before declining into the bear market phase. There is no guarantee of that, but it is following that script. It is following that structure. It is behaving like it has behaved in prior cycles. And therefore, I tend to want to put more weight in the probability, or more likely, more so the possibility that this cycle is following the script of prior cycles. But to me at this point, this cycle still looks a lot like the prior cycles, and especially a lot like the cycle of 16 and 17. Not perfect, but very similar. consistently grinding up and then getting to a point near the end where the move accelerated.
So this video, it's not financial advice, of course, but make no mistake about it. In my opinion, this is a dip worth buying. We see no reason why Bitcoin's price won't break all-time highs again this year, probably in the next 1 to 2 months. In 1 or 2 months, Bitcoin will be above $110,000. Listen for yourself.
So if it's going to look like prior cycles, then I think once this period here of decline comes to an end, whether that's right now, like today, or whether it has to drop to 80 or maybe the mid 70s, I don't have the answer to that. I don't think anybody does. But whenever this comes to an end and sentiment is cleared, I believe we'll get another move up, and this trend on the 4-year cycle will continue. Again, I see no reason why that this market is in a topping motion at this point.
Of course, nothing is certain, so let's talk about what if we're wrong, what if this is the top, what if Bitcoin climbs back up close to this for a few weeks only to never make a new all-time high in 2025 again. The next clip might be the most important clip that you should listen to, because here Bob Loukas explains how to tell when to cut your losses, and assuming this isn't the top, how Bitcoin's cycle top will come in and around October, and he's looking at $150,000 Bitcoin price at least.
It's going to be very difficult to, in real time, find the absolute peak. But what we could look for here is a situation going back to the weekly chart as a guide, where if we can see this market bottom out, let's just for argument's sake, say next week at 81,000. It could be today, but it could be next week. It's irrelevant. We formed this weekly cycle low. Sentiment is completely in the gutter by that point. And then we make a move up. And I think what you would see if this market has already peaked and has already formed a top in the 4-year cycle is you'd have a sharp, aggressive counter-trend move right here. And I don't know how far that would take you. Maybe it takes you back to 103, 105. Maybe it makes a brief all-time high. It's irrelevant what it does. But once we see the beginning of a new weekly cycle here, the early phase of that, and it begins to peak early and rolls over. So it doesn't continue doing this higher to the next weekly cycle peak, but instead, at this point, comes back down to this 90,000 level, comes back down and takes out this level, this low that forms, wherever that forms, whether it's today or next week, and takes this out, then this, to me, becomes your topping pattern. So we should be looking for a market that does something similar to prior weekly cycles, forms the bottom and moves, forms the bottom and then moves up, right? We should be looking at that, and that's what that blue line represents. That's a continuation of the 4-year cycle. That is the ebb and flow of the cycle. If we get this move up over the next, let's call it 3 to 8 weeks to an April or May period, and then rolls over and takes out this level, that to me would be extremely concerning, and essentially is what's called a failed weekly cycle. And a failed weekly cycle is where we don't see a higher high in the weekly cycle time frame, and you see a lower low. That indicates a change in trend, and therefore a change in trend on the 4-year cycle time frame. So until that happens, until we see something like that, which we won't be able to see for at least another month, possibly 2 months, I'm of the opinion that this 4-year cycle is mirroring prior 4-year cycles, and therefore this is a cleansing period that we're experiencing today right here, and a continuation of this 4-year cycle is directly ahead in either the coming week or coming weeks.
Make sure you subscribe to Altcoin Daily for daily crypto coverage. We give you an edge in the crypto market every day. Finally, prepare for $150,000 Bitcoin and higher. Prepare for what comes next. Again, nothing is guaranteed, but this is exactly what we're looking for. Prepare for the final bull phase of Bitcoin's 4-year cycle. It will look like this. Pay attention and tell me what you think. See you tomorrow, my friends.
And that sets up for essentially the final bull phase of this 4-year cycle. We're in now year 3 of the cycle. We are sitting on month 27 since the bear market low. And if the narrative right here is that this is following prior 4-year cycles, then we start to look at where prior 4-year cycles have peaked, and that would be around about the October timeframe of this year. So we are getting close to that. And in fact, we are just a few months, around 8 months from that 4-year cycle peak. And when you look at it on the weekly time frame, if you look at the next weekly cycle up to a high, if it follows prior cycles where it rose for around about 90% off the lows, if you get down to an $80,000 level and you rise by around 90,000, it's potentially possible that by May to June timeframe, over a 16-week period, this weekly cycle can peak maybe around the $150,000 level, then followed by your sort of 20% or more drawdown. As you can see, these drawdowns get massive from a nominal standpoint. So you start talking about $30,000 drawdowns, but which essentially are 20 and 30%. Now you're getting very close to your traditional 4-year cycle high, not leaving a lot of time between late August and October. And this is where I would think, again, this is only if it follows script, follow prior cycles. But then we'd be looking at a final launch, a final speculative cycle that doesn't run very long from a weekly cycle standpoint and runs up to a peak. Again, I want you to kind of ignore the numbers. We're looking more at time than anything else, and we're following the structure, okay? Respecting the ebb and flow nature of the market as it moves up, dissected by a 4-year cycle trend line that runs through that to a peak that then eventually gets followed by the bear phase of the 4-year cycle. And that goes back to the chart I shared with you originally from an intertwined cycle perspective. So all this to say that staying patient, staying invested,